It's a great time to look back at your year, like a holding pattern between looking back at a year and looking forward. To sit in one place, look back and look forward, how we really spend our time. What we sometimes allow in our life to get cluttered. The idea being that we want to clear out the clutter of our calendar, much like we clear out the clutter in our mind when we have thoughts that we need to take captive, or in our homes when we feel like we have physical clutter and it's just too much to process. So that's what we're looking at. How do we spend our time and how can we clean it up a little bit? And maybe we want more peace. Maybe we want to be more productive. Maybe we just want to be the best that we can be. And that's a part of the process. Whenever I mention clearing out your calendar, what thought comes to your mind? Does it make you have a little apprehension? What do I have to take out? What do I have to delete from my calendar? I know I've struggled because there's usually a lot to do. I enjoy rest, but I also enjoy being busy. And I guess if I had to choose between the two for the majority of the last couple of decades, I would say I enjoy the busy part, like doing fun things together. Um, Not necessarily the work part of that. I definitely had projects where we were working on things and I would look forward to the rest that would come after that and the fruit that would come from that. Like when we have a family night, we're going to probably eat together, talk together, laugh together, play some games, etc. And I love that part so much. I look forward to it. In years past, I've put a lot of planning into that, into the meal prep, into the activity if there's something that we're doing. I like the activity and fun. Truth be known, those of us who love all that stuff, our calendar, if you looked at it, might look, instead of like a peaceful plan, it may look somewhat of a tangled web that has to be interpreted to get from January to December. Years back, I saw a teaching about putting the big chunks in first. Like, what are those most important nuggets that we really want to make sure that we fit into life? And making sure we don't get so busy with all of the other things that we end up not doing those most important things. And so I remember that I've got to really look through my calendar, my priority list, and see what are those things? What are the big things I want to make sure I make room for? The big rocks take up the most space usually, but all the others will kind of fall into place if you have those big rocks in place first. I've thought back to that illustration when I'm looking at my calendar, and it's been helpful for me to be able to prioritize the things that are most important. When I look at my calendar now, I like to look at what are the big things that I either want to do or need to do, whichever it is. I like to get those first, and then I work my way down, doing the smaller things until you finally are filling it with the little pebbles in the sand. Even taking one big pebble out makes a lot of room for some little pebbles in sand when needed. Usually those big pebbles are not the ones you want to take out. And I know I'm speaking allegorically here, because those things that are the big pebbles, those are really the things that make up our life. They are the things where we create our memories. They're the things we look forward to. They often involve family and friends, the things that we're going to look back on and have learned the most through, or we've at least made the most memories together that our kids and our extended family will look back to as well. And they're really what make up our life, our day to day, month to month, year by year, our lives. It's possible that you're in a season that you've had to disconnect from yourself a little bit. Maybe you're serving, maybe you've gone through a big transition, whatever it might be, where you've had to kind of put your needs and goals on a back burner. I just want to encourage you to consider that it might be time to pick those back up, because those are the things that make up our life. Those are the things that we remember, that we learn and grow through and create memories with. So as I'm saying these things to you, what is coming up for you guys? What are you thinking about? What are my big pebbles, my big stones that I put in? You probably know some of them. Have you already thought about a big pebble that you would like to delete? What have you done this year What are some of the things that you know happened this year that you want to delete? Maybe you spent too much time in an area. And what are the things that you would like to repeat? Or if not repeat exactly, do something similar. Example of that would be a vacation. You went on a great family vacation. You want to do another family vacation next year, but you want to go to a different location. Okay, that would be a repeat. Deleting or repeating is what we're looking for. What's your impression looking back over your year, your bird's eye view of your year? Looking at how we can clean up and clear out right now so that we're preparing for January. So many people set goals in January, but they kind of do it right on top of everything else going on in life. And I have learned I do a lot better if I spend this time in December cleaning out some of the things that need to go. Whatever those things are that are taking up some of your emotional energy, those are the things we can delete and allow for better emotional energy. Almost everyone that listens to this will probably relate to this comment. If we could spend less time in the negative emotional energy, the draining energy, and more time in the positive energy that's going to help us become more of our truest self, we won't get everything figured out, right? Not this side of heaven, but we certainly have great aspirations, inspirations, and goals that we can work towards while we're here. And I think each year I love looking back and seeing where I've made progress, where I've maybe stepped off a little bit from progress and maybe even regressed in an area. Because we need that reflection. We need to be able to spend some healthy time looking at that so that we can move in a better way, in a stronger, more truest self way. This idea about the things that fuel us versus the things that drain us. You guys may have already listened to the podcast not too far back, just a few weeks ago, with the joy coach. And she brought that up in the interview about she looks at things as either they're going to bring energy to her life or they're going to take it away. That was a really good perspective to think about. What are we putting in there? You can take that old idea back to the pebbles too, like those big pebbles that we put into our jar, they may be wonderful and amazing, but they can go both ways. They can bring fueling, like if it's a vacation, refreshing, but don't we sometimes come home from a vacation exhausted also and very drained? So there can be some of both, but just looking at what are those big things that are either draining or filling us up and making sure that there's a balance. It can be very rewarding and refueling, refreshing, but it can also serve as a very source of much draining of your energy, of your time. Be creative with what you allow yourself to help those big pebbles be fueling rather than draining and building those connections that matter for eternity. As we're kind of setting the stage and working towards some goals, we have to think about how our calendar and the commitments and the things that are filling it up are either adding to or taking away from our goals. Just looking at where we can clean it up and make sure that we allow time to reach those goals that are important to us. I love serving, but I have at times forgotten to take the best care of myself, left myself the skimpiest bit of time to get ready, or if I'm working on a project, I would help everybody else with their projects, and then I would be the one that stayed up late to finish that sewing project or decluttering that cabinet or whatever it was. Everyone else would be asleep, and I would be the one doing that in the wee hours of the night. The next day I'd pay for it, and I wouldn't have had that sleep that I needed. I remember painting. I've been the painter of the interior of our home, every home we've lived in, because I actually enjoy it. I don't know why. It's like therapeutic to me almost. So it's one of those things that fuels me, but it also depletes me. I would love to like take on painting the house. It changes so much just to give everything a fresh new color. And then I'd be the one up finishing it late at night. Everyone else is asleep. So learning how to allow your goals to fit in, encouraging others in their goals, but not forgetting your own, giving those also some priority in the day so that you don't have to stretch yourself so thin. You may start to feel motivated whenever you see blank spots on your calendar where, oh, we have some time to just relax. Looking for those little pockets of time when you can put more margin around the activities that you have to do and evaluating just with some reality check on what needs to stay in my calendar, what needs to go, delete something, delegate something, repeat something that you loved from last year. Think about what motivates you. What are those things that when you look ahead, you feel the most motivated by? Make sure that those are included in your daily, weekly, monthly calendar of 2025, that you're not overlooking those things that motivate you. Just like our goals do not define us, our calendars and the way we fill up our days, they do not define us either. You know, when you talk to someone, you bump into people, it seems like the most common answer people give is you ask, how have you been? Oh, busy. I feel like that's the most common answer I hear myself saying, and I hear from other people. When you ask, how are you? They say, oh, we've been so busy. You know, it's busy, but it's good. But reality is busy doesn't always equal good. It depends on what we're busy doing. And it would be okay if we said to them, we have just been having such a nice, relaxing day. It's perfectly fine. In our culture, we feel the need to prove our worth by how much we pack into our days, our weeks, our years. So just remember, just like our habits don't prove our worth, our calendars don't prove our worth either. The one who knows our worth and defines our worth is Jesus. He created us and he made us worthy. So when we set up our goals for next year, making sure that we don't have things attached to those goals because we think they make us more worthy. And the same with what we put in our calendar. It's not going to make us more worthy. We are worthy already. It's a really good area to get clarity on. I know several clients that I've worked one-on-one with, we have worked through identity, like the identity piece, looking at your false self versus your true self and recognizing that your identity is in Christ, and then move towards making goals because it helps you to get past that feeling that you have to define yourself by them. A really good way to perceive this would be if I'm a person whose goal is to be strong. And you guys know when I say that, it means in every way, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. I want those all those areas to be strong. And so rather than thinking about when I get to the goal, when I reach that goal and check it off, I'm going to be that, I start thinking on the front end about it. Like right now, I am a person who is becoming strong spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. And it's that process, that mind shift to we're constantly growing. We're not going to reach everything here, this side of heaven, but we are a person, for example, maybe this is a goal for one of you, a person who is clutter free, a person who lives a simple, fulfilling life. Maybe your goal is to be a generous person. So you learn along the way and you remind yourself along the way. I am a person who loves to give. Whatever it is about you that is a part of your goal, you go ahead and work and weave that in now as you're working towards the goal, not when you check it off. But we can look at our daily routines and really get a good feel for what we're about and what our priorities are. And so a part of the thing that I learned to do several years back now is I like to set up rhythms. So you guys know, okay, I'm a homeschool mom. I still am. I've been a homeschool mom for, let's see, this is my 30th year. And I struggled and really resisted in the beginning the whole idea of a super tight, rigid schedule. It just did not fit for our rhythm. Once I really kind of got around that idea of rather than saying at 9 o'clock we do math and at 10 o'clock we do spelling or whatever, we got into a rhythm. And it helped me so much. So from 9 to 12, we're going to be working on our book work from our school. We may do a science experiment thrown in there, but for the most part, some book work. And then we did our lunch routine. Then we move into our afternoon rhythm, is what I like to call it. And it helped free my mind up to not feel like if we didn't do math at 9 o'clock, we did not fail. And just reminding yourself that you can have a rhythm rather than a rigid schedule is sometimes very freeing. I think this whole element of time is just so important. I mean, we're accountable for how we spend our time. We're only given so much time. Looking at our different resources that we have, time is one that we cannot get back. We can, let's say, make money, we can spend it and re-earn that money. But with time, once it's spent, it's gone. You can't go back to last week. We can't even go back to this morning. So it's kind of a different resource in that way. And the way that we spend it is going to determine our lives. It's a huge, huge influence on who we become, on how we show up. And so I feel like it's worth our time, pun intended, to evaluate how we spend our time. It's really important. It's a big part of our identity and also the true self, recognizing where God's working, how we're growing. Just so much of that is a part of the process and the journey that we're on, not just looking at when we get to that goal, then we're satisfied. We have to learn some contentment along the way and some growing into that person who is physically strong or who keeps commitments to their self. Loving unconditionally is it's just kind of woven throughout all of life. So I would think that would be one that you kind of have as an overarching goal. And then there's going to be other goals within it. The one I used earlier about being a generous person is one way that we love people unconditionally. And so that might be something that would be kind of a smaller goal within the bigger umbrella of loving unconditionally. If we're not careful, like we reach this goal and then we think, oh, well, now we got to do another goal and another goal. It's like a moving target rather than appreciating where we are as we move along, seeing ourselves in that journey. What can you delete? What do you want to delegate? And what do you want to repeat from 2024? Moving forward, who are you becoming? What are those goals that you have? What are you making room for? Decluttering out your calendar, your physical environment, your mental thoughts around all of that.